Welcome back to the Talk with AVC. We have now reached our final segment of the day, which is our NHL and NBA talk segment. The Stanley Cup Finals are underway, and amazing to me, it is Dallas and the Lightning. I had Vegas winning that series, but they really just got in their own way, chirping too much, a lot of egos on that team. They just got humbled by the Stars. And I'm sorry, Dallas, this team looked terrible in the round robin to start the playoffs, but the staff last year that threw Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn under the bus, they got it together. Yeah, apparently somehow. So it's crazy to look at, not just for the fact that they're in, but how it actually happened is kind of strange. You know, obviously you have to look at the key contributors, and surprise, surprise, based on the age of this team, it's kind of like a who's who of 2014, Corey Perry, obviously Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, but you got a lot of older names on this team. And obviously the big one was the big free agency acquisition of Joe Pavelski. I loved him in San Jose with the Sharks. I thought he was a criminally underrated player, and now you see why. He is a warrior. He is a heart and soul of a team, and he just brings a fire to the rest of the squad. So, and they've also got a lot of young players that are starting to perform as well in terms of defense and in the forward core. I think the craziest surprise, though, has been in net. Ben Bishop and his glass body obviously got injured. So they turned to veteran journeyman 34-year-old Anton Kubadin, who pulled a rabbit out of a hat and has been one of the best goalies this entire postseason. He's been absolutely phenomenal, and it's surprising. I mean, it's not crazy to see. Sometimes that happens with veteran goaltenders. But I think what's just amazing to me is that this actually happened. So they're playing the Lightning. They took game one, and I wanted to get this. Unfortunately, I couldn't get this pick in before because I didn't have my show before the Cup final started. But I actually am picking Dallas to win this series. Even though the Lightning are amazing, and I knew they would get this far, I'm still picking Dallas to win this series. Here's why. No, it's not actually because Steven Stamkos is hurt. I think that helps, but I don't think that's the main reason. Andrei Vasilevsky's been playing great, but even though they gave up 4 goals the other night. See, Dallas has done a thing this postseason where they have shut down very high-level offenses and grinded out games and just been very efficient in their play. Now, the word efficient, you hear it a lot in sports, and you probably don't think much of it, but it is really the key to everything. Everything in a sports franchise, no matter what sport it is, must be efficient. In the front office, you must draft efficiently. You must scout efficiently. You must develop with efficiency. Everything must be efficient on the field. If you're a football team, look no further than the New England Patriots. You must be efficient. You must not turn over the ball. You must put up a certain amount of points. You must not give up more than another certain amount of points. In baseball, you must develop prospects with efficiency. And same thing in hockey. You must develop prospects with efficiency and get them onto the field and then capitalize with efficiency on the controllable years of their contracts. In the NBA, you must shoot with efficiency. You must not turn over the ball a ton. You must keep possession. You must play defense with efficiency. Again, allow a certain amount of points and score more than that. Everything comes with efficiency, and Dallas has looked like the most efficient team in the playoffs this year. They have been the most consistent, and I think that's why they're going to win. Just veteran players stepping up. And look, yes, this is their biggest test yet. They shut down a budding empire in Colorado, and they shut down Vegas in those last few games on offense. And I think they'll do it again here at Tampa. I mean, Stamkos would help, but still, you got Kucherov, Shattenkirk, McDonough. There are so many top players, Palat. There are so many top scorers and top defensive scorers on this team of the Tampa Bay Lightning that they can beat you in a million ways. But I just have this feeling that Dallas's, not only their efficiency, their effectiveness, their leadership, and their consistency and their experience is going to win them the Stanley Cup. It's going to be one of the weirdest Stanley Cup wins of all time. But you know what? It's a fitting end to a strange season. So that's pretty much the NHL. There are other topics we can cover, but I think I'm going to save that for the offseason. And now we're going to move over into our NBA segment. And I'd like to bring in a guest actually at this time, who is my producer actually here in the booth, Danny, who is actually a Heat fan. And if many of you don't remember, I've actually picked the Heat to win this series against the Boston Celtics. So I just kind of wanted to bring him in as well, get his thoughts on the bubble playoffs and how his team has performed. So, Danny, welcome on the show.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So, what has stuck out to you with how the Heat have played in this series so far?
They've been going down early, which is, to me, that's a problem. You can get away with that against Indiana because they don't have enough talent. You can get away with that against Milwaukee because they don't really grind out games that much. But a team like Boston, when they have talent and grit and they're really well coached and they'll make adjustments, you can't really go down early. And they've got, for whatever reason, the first 2 games they've gotten early. They've gotten away with it. They've gotten down early. They've come back. And you just can't keep doing that. And Game 3 showed why you couldn't, because Boston will make adjustments to have talent to win those games that you go down early in. And they tried to come back again in the fourth quarter. They were down by like 7. They were down by like double digits again, and they cut it. They cut it down with like a minute to go, and then they just couldn't pull it. So to me, they have to find a way to just consistently just keep the game close and grind it out. You cannot go down early against a team like Boston.
And that's, again, what I was speaking to earlier when I was just talking about efficiency. The Miami Heat had been a very efficient team this playoffs. They don't turn the ball over a ton. They don't have a particular focal point of their offense, which allows them to do a lot of different things, I think. I still do have Miami winning this series. And the main reason is I just don't think Boston's front court right now is good enough to win them this series. I think the lack of a true elite big hurts them. I think if they had like a Hassan Whiteside, or even if they just had Al Horford back, I'd be more confident in them. But I still have Miami pulling out this series. Hey, look, Butler and Dragic had a very down night in Game 3. I don't see that happening again. And then the other big thing that we need to talk about is, obviously in the West, oh my God, the Clippers. They did it again.
They did.
They did it again.
No, all those dogs on that team.
Oh,
they had a whole bunch of dogs with no bark.
You make all of these splashes in the offseason, and you still can't make it past the second round of the playoffs.
I don't know what you do if you're a Clippers fan. I'm not a Clippers fan. If you're in the Clippers front office, I don't know what you do. I thought the first step was firing Doc Rivers, because the only constant in that organization since the Lob City era has been Doc Rivers. But
does Doc Rivers? First of all, the main priority now of the Clippers is basically this is an all-in year this next year. The problem is that you're probably stuck with this roster, probably minus Montrezl Harrell, because you traded away all your assets to get CP3. And actually, I have this trade. I have the details of this trade in my notes. Excuse me for 1 second. Let me pull that up. Yeah. So what was that trade again? How much did you give up for George? 4 unprotected first-round picks, 1 protected pick, 2 future first-round pick swaps, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Danilo Gallinari for Paul George.
It was a lot.
Wow.
It seemed like a lot at the time.
Wow.
It's just like this.
Do you know how monumentally screwed the Clippers are if they don't win a title next year? Don't forget, Paul George has an opt-out after next season. Kawhi has an opt-out after next season. If you don't win a title next year, they're gone. Congratulations, you'll be the new age Brooklyn Nets. I never thought this would happen. The Clippers might have actually been able to manage to one-up the Nets trading for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. You made that look like Andrew Bynum to the Sixers. That's what that trade was.
I mean,
dear God, this is just...
I feel so bad. Like, if you're, first of all, Clippers fans, I feel so bad. I don't know if there are any Clippers fans watching, but if there are, I'm just so sorry. But I don't really know what you do. Like, you have to You have to learn from this. You have to show. They have to show when adversity hits you in the face. You have to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this, and then this is where the problems with this team start to come in. Look, you don't have an aging core, not specifically your star players, but the rest of the team. Pat Bev is already getting another year older. Lou Williams another year older. Marcus Morris another year older. He's probably gone. Montrezl Harrell will probably get a good offer from somebody, and you're not going to pay him over $60 million, so he's gone. If I were the Clippers, I would try to see if I could orchestrate a sign-in trade with Montrezl Harrell, similar to what the Sixers did with Jimmy Butler, so that way you can get some type of value. I think Ivica Zubac is a better fit for the team anyway at center. You're going to start lacking scoring depth off the bench. And you've got a guy in Paul George who just doesn't step up in the playoffs. And also, here's another problem. Yes, you had this whole load management thing to try to address the fact that Paul George and Kawhi are injury prone. Are you going to get this lucky in a full season next year that they won't get hurt again?
The problem with load management is, and I've said this constantly because I've always been against load management. The problem with it is what everyone undermines and undervalues is the fact that if you're going to get better as a team, you have to play together.
Exactly. And
with the Clippers, with Paul George and Kawhi and the entire team just load managing all the time, it
hurts the rest of the team, yeah.
They never got enough reps together. So I feel like that kind of hurt them this time around. They kind of looked out of sync at times. Not even just against this Nuggets team, but against the Mavericks.
And this is really going to hurt if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander turns into a star in OKC. He looks good right now, and if he turns into a superstar in OKC, oh boy. As for what they can do, I've seen the trade Paul George rumors. Look, that's not going to happen. First of all, not going to happen. Second of all, what are you going to get? What are you going to get for Paul George at this point? 3 first-rounders? What is that going to do to you? No rebuilding team's going to trade you for him. So the best is you're going to get, a couple of mid-teens picks?
What I saw actually was I saw this on Instagram somewhere, but it was a Joel Embiid for Paul George swap, which is not going to happen.
See, I saw that, and it's no. If the Sixers, Paul George is not the trade that the Sixers are going to make. And Joel Embiid is not going to elevate the Clippers over anybody else in the West.
I feel like it might be just because the fact that the Clippers need a few things. One of them is a center that can. I think
Zubac can give you that though. I think his time was limited because of Harrell. I think next year without Montrezl Harrell, I think you'll see a better Zubac. I like his potential. I think the bigger thing. I think the Sixers are really going to trade for like Buddy Hield, but that's another conversation. So. Yeah. For anybody who knows me, they know that I don't like the Lakers this year. Not because of LeBron, not because of Pelinka, even though he's a jerk and stuff like that. No, I don't like the Lakers mostly because of their roster assembly due to the whole AD trade. I think it was a ludicrous trade where you give up half your entire roster for a superstar. And now we've seen the best case scenario for a trade like that and the worst case scenario in the Clippers and the Lakers. I really hope it doesn't work out for them, but I think it might work out for the Lakers just given who's left. But my dream scenario is the Lakers lose and AD leaves in free agency. That's my dream scenario.
I think AD's going to stay even if they lose at this point.
Yeah, I think he's enjoying playing with LeBron, and I think my worry just with the Lakers is if you don't win it this year, again, similar with the Clippers, what are you going to get next year?
So I think
you're paying AD a super max because he made All NBA team. So and LeBron's on a max. So what do you don't really have a lot of money to throw around. Who are you going to get? You don't have any draft picks.
What they would do, I feel like.
Who are you going to get?
I feel like there'll be guys. I mean, I haven't looked at free agency that much this year, but there's going to be guys out there.
There are some. I mean.
I think Rondo will be back, first of all.
But another year of Rondo, he'll be 36 or 37 by this point. I don't see the production coming from there. I mean, I was big on last year. I thought they should have signed JJ Redick. I think that would have been perfect for them.
For shooting?
Yeah, and I mean, maybe even they could look into like a Gallinari or something like that this offseason. He is a free agent this year.
That'd be good.
Maybe even looking into like a Luke Kennard or something if he's available from the Pistons. I would definitely consider moving Kyle Kuzma. As much as I want the Nuggets to win, the big thing is that right now AD is the most important player to this series. If AD performs at the level he's played in games 1 and 2, the Lakers will win this series, and it will be in about 5 games.
I mean, if they go down 3-1 again, I mean,
yeah, I'd be worried. I love Denver. I love their construction so far, and I agree with a lot of other experts. I think they have a title in their future in the next 2 or 3 years, but I don't think it's going to be this year. So I think it's going to end up being Miami and the Lakers, and I think, sadly, the Lakers will probably win the title, and I will cry a little bit on the inside.
So why do you get the Lakers?
So, again, it's because I think if a roster like this is allowed to win a title, that it will just destroy the construction of basketball, quite frankly. Going back to the AD trade, the Lakers traded, it looked like something you'd see on a video game. That's what the trade looked like to me. It looked like something that a 10-year-old does on a franchise mode in an NBA 2K game, where you trade all your young, potentially good players and a top draft choice for one of the top players in the game. And then you fill out your roster with a bunch of veteran or busts or just like has-beens and a bunch of never-will-be's is what the rest of the roster is filled out with. And, you don't need much to win in the NBA, but for me as a fan of sports, it's just, why should I care about smaller market teams who develop players and do it the right way when a team like the Lakers can just sign a LeBron out of convenience because of location and then make a trade for Anthony Davis simply because the Pelicans were an incompetent organization and win a title just by giving up everything. And then we're not going to hear the ESPN talking heads shut up about it for another 2 years. It's just, it destroys the meaning of depth. And it just destroys every logic I have in my head about sports. It just doesn't compute with my brain that this should be able to work.
I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's not like the way that they're playing in the playoffs. Like Rajon Rondo was playing like 2012.
Yeah, in the last series he played incredibly well, but like even
and then like Dwight Howard,
but again, Dwight Howard's 34. He's not what he was, and if Dwight Howard was even what he was in like Houston or Atlanta, then I'd probably be a little bit less peeved about it. But it's just a bunch of has-beens and ring chasers. Like they brought in Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith to fill out depth at one point, and they don't even.
Dion's my guy. Shout out to Dion
and
J.R.
And you got like Alex Caruso, like guys who would never be any good, like who would be like the 13th man on most teams, are playing, and because of a signing based on convenience and location and a trade where you sent everything away for one guy is going to win you a championship. Like that, it almost seems like it takes no skill as an executive to me. And Pelinka's just going to get endless praise for this. And he doesn't deserve it, in my opinion. It's just, this is a problem I have with the NBA in general, but it destroys the meaning of drafting, developing, and mid-level players to me. Like, what is the point? Like, you look at the Nuggets, they have a bunch of really solid players and then like two really good players. The Lakers have 2 superstars and a bunch of meh.
I mean, I feel like,
and they're gonna win, and it just drives me nuts.
For them though, like it's not like the players. You have like a different guy stepping up each night. Which is
it's really more of a don't hate the players, hate the game situation. But that's just kind of what it is for me. And on that depressing note, we will wrap up this show here. Thank you all very much for watching. Danny, thank you for joining me here on this segment. I might bring you in on another segment. Who knows? If you guys like Danny. If you don't like Danny, just let me know in the comments. He'll never be on the show again. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all tune in next week for all 3 segments. If you haven't seen the previous 2 segments, please do go and watch them. I very much appreciate you guys. And I will be talking to you all next week.